the main session. I'm delighted to introduce to you the distinguished lecturer tonight, Professor Bak Sangmee of the Hankuk University Foreign Studies. I think many members of the audience are already familiar with Professor Bak, as Professor Bak has regularly appeared on Arirang TV as moderator in Focus, which is a very popular program with worldwide audiences. But Bak Sangmee has a very dazzling experiences and academic records, and I'd like to introduce to you briefly about Dr. Bak. Dr. Bak Sangmee is professor of cultural anthropology at the Division of International Studies, Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. She was also Dean of the Division of International Studies a few years ago. Dr. Bak is a graduate of Seoul National University, where she received her BA in Anthropology. She then received her master's degree and doctorate from Harvard University, both in Anthropology. Before taking a current position at the Hankuk University Foreign Studies, Professor Bak was a McKenna postdoctoral fellow at Dartmouth College and also taught at Queens College of the City University of New York as an assistant professor in anthropology. Professor Bak's areas of expertise include cultural heritage, food and foodways, consumption and identity, and gender and family. As an anthropologist, she has done fieldwork in various countries and places, including Taiwan, China, Hong Kong, and Singapore, and of course, Korea. Professor Bak is also known for a role in UNESCO's Intangible Heritage programs. She served as a working group member on the 2003 Convention on Safeguarding Intangible Heritage. And she was dispatched by UNESCO to Vietnam and Cambodia to establish living human treasure system in the two countries. She is currently an expert member of UNESCO's Cultural Heritage Committee. Professor Bak has many publications on the anthropology of food. Many of them are in English. They include Exoticizing the Familiar, Domesticating the Foreign, which is about ethnic food restaurants in Korea. The Flow of Kimchi, Food Exchange Networks and Changing Gender Family Identities in Korean Society, which I think has a lot of bearing on today's lecture. From Strange Bitter Concoction to Romantic Necessity, which is about coffee consumption in Korea and worldwide. Negotiating national and transnational identities through consumption choices, hamburgers, espresso, and mobile technologies among Koreans. And at an early stage of her academic career, she wrote McDonald's in Seoul, Food Choices, Identity and Nationalism, which appeared in the renowned book Golden Arches East, edited by the famous anthropologist James Watson. I think today's lecture is based on Professor Bak's professional experience as well as academic research. In 2012, Professor Bak authored the application documents on Kimjang, making and sharing of kimchi, to UNESCO. This is to have Kimjang included in the representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. I think we are all curious about what happens after this application, and we look forward to hearing from Professor Bak about all these. Please join me in welcoming Professor Bak Sangmee with a big round of applause.
Well, good evening, and thank you, Professor Lee, for your kind introduction. And I'd like to thank even kinder introduction by Dr. Do, the Vice President of Academia Korea, who called me a young anthropologist. Actually, among the circles of anthropologists, I'm not considered to be young anymore. Today, I would like to talk about kimchi and kimjang, probably some of the best known Korean food in the global community. But I will not be talking about how to make kimchi, how to make tasty kimchi. I think my mother would object it. What I will do is using kimchi as a window I'd like to make a sort of an observation of Korea's gender relations, Korea's family, and identity. And I also would like to talk about how kimchi is perceived by Koreans ourselves. And I think it has a lot to do with Koreans gaining confidence and pride in our own culture with the recent achievements and being a solid member in the global community. I think the way Koreans look and evaluate kimchi has changed a lot over the years. In the beginning, in the past, it was considered to be lacking nutrition. It was too salty, too good for the body, and smelly. And it was a sign of backwardness to carry kimchi in a global flight. However, nowadays, Koreans are eager to find any positive value in kimchi and try to learn the wisdom of ancestors who have developed this kind of culinary tradition. I think it's more than nutritional sort of matter. It's about the identity, self-identity of Koreans. And I think by examining kimchi and kimjang as a cultural practice, we can better understand what Koreans have been and what values Koreans have in today's Korea. The topic of today's talk is actually, as Professor Lee just mentioned, it's a combination of my work with UNESCO and Korea's Cultural Heritage Administration and my research as an anthropologist on culture of gender identities and family and food. When I was first invited by Societas Koreana to be the speaker today, I was very much honored, but at the same time I was quite insecure. I felt insecure when I looked at the names of the authorities who were the previous speakers in this lecture series, and I understood at the time that this is one of the most respected lecture series in Korea. So I feel both honored and I feel a little worried whether I can meet your expectation, but nevertheless, I really thank the organizers and the Institute for offering me this opportunity to talk about what I like to talk about. This is the order of the presentation. Because this is about kimchi and kimjang, I'm going to talk about a little bit about what kimchi is and what kimjang is. I think most of you sitting here already know a lot about kimchi and have personal experience of eating it and in some cases making kimchi. But let me just talk about kimchi and show, actually my slide here includes a lot of photographs, as you can see in the booklet for the lecture. So I will show you the varieties of kimchi and how kimjang is done in average Korean households. And then I'll move on to discuss what kimchi is in Korean culture. We like to talk about kimchi as part of a very significant part of Korean identity. And in numerous surveys, Koreans mention kimchi as one of the most remarkable and distinguished part of Korean culture. And I will briefly talk about the history of kimchi making or history of kimchi in Korea, comparing it with other preserved vegetables in many other culinary traditions. And the kind of kimchi we have in today's Korea is actually pretty recent. The use of chili peppers, it has about only 300 years of history, but many Koreans are shocked to hear that kimchi is other than red spicy thing. Actually, the napa cabbages, the main ingredient in the most popular form of kimchi, was cross-fertilized. It's an outcome of cross-fertilization by a very well-known agricultural biologist called Woo Jang-chun. It's a new vegetable. So, the culture is always changing, and we tend to think of what we have in front of our eyes as the prototype. But in the case of kimchi, as in most cultural practices, it has transformed, adapting to changes in Korean ecology and Korean socio-cultural context. Then I will talk about the flow of kimchi. This is about giving kimchi, but mostly by women of the family to their children who are living separately. This is a really, I think, significant part of Koreans' family life. What Koreans expect from mothers, what Koreans expect from the mother-children relationship, and how women as mothers get satisfaction by giving. It's like and here I attempt some symbolic analysis of women feeding their children. Even after establishing separate household, they keep feeding. And it's a really meaningful practice for many Koreans when they receive homemade kimchi from their mother. And then I will mention how kimchi is a very important item in sharing with less fortunate or underprivileged members of the community, because kimchi is so essential. It's important that no one goes without it. So there are many events and many networks where kimchi is shared, especially during the Kimjang season before winter. So that is what I have prepared, and when I was standing and having some refreshment outside, I learned that people came with very interesting questions. So I'll try to limit my lecture to a short time, and I will answer your questions. I'll try to answer your questions, which might be even more interesting than my own lecture. Okay, probably this is one of the few pages where you have only text, not the photographs. Okay, so the question is, what is kimchi? It's a kind of preserved vegetables, and there are so many cases, so many examples of preserved vegetables all over the world. I'm sure that in your for non-Korean members, non-Korean audience here, you might have similar preserved vegetable. Keeping vegetables lifetime so that we can eat through the winter when the fresh vegetables are scarce, and at the same time in an effort to enhance the flavor of the vegetable. Usually when vegetable is salted and kept for a long time, it acquires a very distinctive flavor. Kimchi is a preserved vegetables in Korean style. Actually, this sounds somewhat funny, but this is the definition that we have. It's a preserved vegetable in Korean style, and generally using the main vegetables. Main vegetables is what makes the bulk of the food. Napa cabbages, some people call it Chinese cabbages, turnips, mustard green, and many other kinds of kimchi. Vegetables and spices. Main spice is chili pepper powder, but other things are garlic, ginger, and many things. Herbs, scallions. Onions are not regularly used because it has sweet taste. Fermented seafood, anchovy, shrimp, croakers, and fresh seafood, especially for kimjang, oysters, pollock, and octopus, and salt. But I just mentioned the most commonly used ingredients. Actually, there are more than 200 varieties of kimchi in Korea. And even for the same kind of kimchi, every household thinks that their kimchi is unique. And they are, actually. So we are talking about family secrets. And it's a very important part of housewives' and making good kimchi is one of the sort of a must-have skills for the family. And Kimjang is the preparation of kimchi in large quantities to be eaten throughout cold season. Usually it's done late November, early December, depending on the climate of the particular region. And this is when fresh vegetables were difficult to get by, and they had to go through the whole winter. Kimchi is slowly fermented in an earthen jar. This is more traditional way of storing kimchi, buried in the ground to maintain ideal condition for slow fermentation, which makes it taste best. And nowadays, kimchi refrigerators are widely used in most of the Korean households. It's one of the most popular household electric appliances. Okay, sorry about that. So I'm going to show how to make kimchi and kimjang in Korean households. These are the basic ingredients for Napa cabbage kimchi. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with most of the ingredients. The big cabbage with layers and turnip. The Japanese speakers call it daikon, and scallion and garlic and ginger. And on the left side, we have fresh oysters and little shrimps and chili pepper powder. And some people like to use sesame oil, but some people don't. And sesame and salt and a bit of sugar. I think there are two kinds of salt here. One is coarse and the other a bit finer. Coarse sea salts are used to salting the vegetable, and later on to season the kimchi, you might want to use the finer one without the brine, which make kimchi taste a bit bitter. Okay, this is how to salt the cabbage. People sprinkle the coarse sea salt onto the cabbage to make the salting process easier and faster. People usually cut the cabbage in halves or in quarters, and they sprinkle the salt, and they usually pour some water to get the brine with a sort of an even taste. And this is what makes kimchi with unique flavor and smell. To make the seasoning, you usually shred some form of vegetables. Most widely used is the turnip. You thinly shred the turnip, and sometimes people use other kinds of vegetables and sometimes seaweed as well. And they would put a lot of chili pepper powder like this and many other ingredients. And then the next step is the most labor-consuming process, where you put the prepared spice between the layers of salted cabbage, and you do it by hand. There's no other way of doing so. Even kimchi-making factories employ people who do this. And the skilled kimchi makers, housewives, look at the thickness of each leaves, and they adjust the amount of spice to be inserted. Cabbages are wrapped with larger leaves. They are ready to be stored. And I'm going to show just a few more photos of kimchi, variety of kimchi. This is kimchi without chili pepper powder. It's called white kimchi or baek kimchi in Korean. And usually this has a lot of garnish because it's supposed to be a delicacy, because you need to draw a really subtle taste, and it's more difficult to do. Usually, the red colored spicy kimchi you can easily bring out kimchi taste, but without such herbs and spices, then it's a more sophisticated work, and they put a lot of garnish on that. And this is in some cases this is made for special occasions. And this is another more popular kind of kimchi. It's called 깍두기. It's diced turnip kimchi. This is for ordinary meal. Another variety, pretty popular. This is a smaller variety of turnip, and it's eaten all year long. And this is a very special kimchi that's usually made during Kimjang times for the winter, because during summertime it's difficult to achieve the desired taste. It's another kind of not very spicy, not very salty. This is I would say that food connoisseurs would just tell how good this is. It's 동치미 turnip kimchi in salty water. I think even if you haven't tasted this particular kind of kimchi, I think many of you have had the soup of this kimchi, because it's a very popular practice at many good Korean restaurants to use the soup of this kimchi to mix it with the meat broth to make cold noodle soup. So about half of the cold noodle soup is from this 동치미, and it gives very distinctive flavor to the noodles. Okay, now things have changed, and not many of us bury the earthen jars in the ground, and we don't prepare as much kimchi as we did before during Kimjang season. Korean kimchi has gotten less saltier, actually, because of the health awareness and better refrigeration. Now it's almost always kept in refrigerators, either the regular refrigerator or kimchi refrigerator. And there are some newly introduced vegetables, and Koreans like to experiment. I'm sure that the 200 kinds of variety will even expand to more varieties of kimchi. Nowadays, some people are experimenting with things like paprika or cauliflower or red beet. And kimchi refrigerators, many Korean housewives consider kimchi refrigerators as one of the best invention in recent years. And they always, in their advertisement, they say it accurately replicate the underground condition. And if you go to supermarkets or traditional markets, open markets, you find half-made kimchi ingredients like ready mixed spice or salted cabbages, so that it would be easier and time-saving to prepare kimchi. And we experiment a lot. We use kimchi and create some fusion food. Some people are not happy about it. Some people think it's a great idea. Cucumbers haven't been frequently used for this kind of soupy kind of kimchi, but nowadays with the less amount of salt used for kimchi, this might be a good alternative. Some people eat this kind of cucumber kimchi in soup in summertime. And this is another experiment. They use beets, red beets, to have this kind of distinctive color. And as the main vegetable, they used sliced lotus root. And this is more traditional kind of cucumber kimchi, which is actually my favorite. It's a spicy cucumber kimchi. They make slits into the flesh of the cucumber, and they insert the spices. And after storing for several days, it develops very good flavor. And actually, this is a bit scary, I think, for people who are not used to eating spicy food. The main vegetable is chili pepper, green chili pepper, which can be very spicy. And then they put yet more spice in it. It's green chili pepper kimchi. And I'm going to introduce a few dishes that use kimchi as an important ingredient. This is a very popular kimchi hot pot. We call it 전골 or 찌개. If it's already mixed, it's called 찌개, and 전골 is put these ingredients side by side, make it more beautiful, I guess. And you usually boil it on the top of the table. And this is I think it's one of the popular choice. It's kimbap. It's a kimchi rolls rolled in rice and seaweed. And this is another. I think this goes very well with makgeolli, a Korean traditional drink, alcoholic drink. It's like a good combination of food and beverage. Kimchi pancakes. And I will refer to this again when I talk about Kimjang, because this food is sort of an assortment of things that are left over from Kimjang. And together they make a great dish. This is very popular in regular restaurants, but I think more significantly, the dinner on the Kimjang Day, when people have worked really hard, they would gather around this 보쌈. They boil the pork on the side so that they can be eaten with other ingredients, kimchi, like the spice and salted cabbage leaves and fresh oysters. All these put together. They usually put everything on the cabbage leaves and wrap it around. And it's supposed to be the reward for hard work. And kimchi gratin. They sprinkle mozzarella cheese over this. And pizza, kimchi pizza, as kimchi as one of the toppings. And kimchi burgers, actually these are, I guess many people have already tasted this. It's sold at Lotteria. It's the local brand, and I think it's the biggest hamburger chain. I might be wrong because it changes, but it's a really, really big brand in Korea and Japan. And they have kimchi burgers. It's a little bit different because they like to use the rice patty instead of the bun, but the ingredient is pretty similar. And this is the last one of the variety of food that can be created using kimchi. This is kimchi pilaf, 볶음밥, stir-fried rice with kimchi as one of the ingredients. Now, kimchi, many people like to talk about how kimchi is important or significant part of Korean identity. And when we do a survey among Koreans, they mention kimchi with the national flag, Hangul, Korean alphabet, and Taekwondo as some of the most popular and recognizable symbol in Korea, and arirang, of course. I participated, as Professor Lee mentioned in his introduction on me, I participated in the Korean government's efforts to put kimchi and Kimjang culture on UNESCO's list of intangible cultural heritage. UNESCO doesn't like food items as their heritage on their heritage list because of the concern. I think it's a legitimate concern of commercializing UNESCO's name. So we decided to put kimchi as a Kimjang culture, way of life, cultural practice. And to do that, we had to get it's an official procedure where we needed agreement from the community members. In this case, it would be general public in Korean society. So we had a kind of nationwide survey, and I learned a lot from this survey. Over 90% of Koreans still eat homemade kimchi. When we go to supermarket, we see so many brands of kimchi sold, but people might occasionally buy the kimchi, but over 90% eat homemade kimchi, not necessarily made within their household. What I will be talking about is how mothers living in rural areas would use delivery service to regularly give kimchi to their married children living in the cities. Including that, over 90% eat homemade kimchi. And we had to ask whether Koreans want kimchi and kimjang on UNESCO's list, and 98% said yes. I'm not sure what the opinions of the 2%. Maybe they have different idea of UNESCO lists, meanings and so forth. But it was pretty predominantly positive response. And over 80% have participated in kimjang. It's a hard work in many different capacities, I guess. They may have moved the cabbages, or they may actually participated in putting spice, or in the culinary part. But 80%, so they have participated. 95% eat kimchi at least once a day. 64% 3 times a day. So kimchi is really important, like many spicy kind of side dishes in many other cultures. Actually, when anthropologists go to their field sites, the first thing we try to see is how do they eat their starch food, be it bread, rice, or anything, gruel. In most cultures, what we find is they have something saltier or spicier to go with the starch food. I've seen numerous cases in African cuisines and in Southeast Asian and South Asian cuisines. When they eat rice, they make sure that they have some form of condiments or something to go with the starch food, which is one of the most important kind of food consumed regularly. So kimchi is not a main dish, of course, as we know. And sometimes people conduct surveys in a little bit what I consider incorrect way, if I may say. About 10 years ago, there was a little scandal in Korean mass media when there was a survey among elementary school kids. Among these food items, what do you like best? And what do you least like? And what they hate was kimchi. That shocked many Koreans. But I think it was a little bit flawed question because they compared kimchi, which is like pickle in Western cuisine, kimchi, pizza, hamburger, fried chicken. No, kimchi was chosen as the last one. But eating kimchi is an acquired taste for Koreans, average Koreans. When a child is very small, parents would get a very small piece of kimchi and they would wash it in water and make it less spicy for the little children. And then kids practice with those, less spicy kimchi, and they acquire, their appetite for the kimchi. And many parents and grandparents encourage their children to eat kimchi because they say things like, "You should eat kimchi to be a Korean." It sounds a bit, very too much, but that's many of my students who actually in one semester wrote essays on kimchi and kimjang, and they said that's how they started to eat kimchi and became people who cannot eat food without kimchi. So kimchi is ubiquitous and essential, and the most humble meal consists of rice and kimchi. When we describe the meal, the simplest type, there was only boiled rice and kimchi. When people say that they have very humble, attitude towards food, they say, "I can eat rice only with kimchi." That's the simplest form. However, the most extravagant banquet will be incomplete without kimchi. It should be there. Preferably several varieties should be there. You might have noticed that every year when the weather gets colder, in evening news shows, they announce something called Kimjang Index. because the price fluctuates. An average family of 4 will have to come up with like 150,000 won for this year's Kimjang. So it's a good indicator of prices because everybody does it. Okay, this is a high-rise apartment and they converted their living room. Look at the treadmill next to the big window, but they converted it because they need a sort of a spacious place, and this is the first step actually. They purchased maybe 50 heads of big cabbages, and they start cutting them and they will sort them. In a modern home, we don't have that kind of space in average homes. And small amount of Kimjang is done individually. This happens for small families who don't have extended family network. They would do Kimjang individually in small quantities. And well, we have a long history of preserving vegetables for one region or another. But something similar to what we have today, the earliest historical record, it was about 760 years ago. And kimchi has transformed, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning, and regular use of chili peppers, as we do today, started about 300 years ago, after the Korean-Japan War. And the variety of Napa cabbages we use today were newly made by a biologist, and about 100 years ago. Kimchi can be compared with other preserved vegetables, such as, of course, sauerkraut in Germany, and suancai in China, and tsukemono in Japan, among many others. This is a photo from early 70s, and look at the cabbages and turnips piled up on top of a truck, actually on a bed of truck, and they were just hurling one by one these cabbages. At the same time, they were counting, how many they were delivering to this retailer. Now, the flow of giving kimchi to family members who live in separate residence is a very common practice, as I said, and I think it has something to do with Koreans' women's identity and family relationship. And I'd like to quote two people who are anthropologists of food. Food was and continues to be power in a most basic, tangible, and inescapable form. And another, the power of women often derived from the power of food that they make and give. Well, anthropologists notice the symbolic and literal linkage between food and human body, because it literally becomes part of our body, and it's only natural that we have a lot of symbolic meanings associated with food and food giving. And I think it's really gendered in its practices. So making and distributing kimchi among family and relatives, this is a feeding as an important part of women's identity. And I think we can find many examples, like Sunday evening feast in Italian families, for example, and many other cultures. It's more than food. It's more than dinner. It's like reaffirming the connectedness and solidarity among the family members. I would call it almost like a symbolic ritual to affirm how close we are by eating the same food made by mother. Giving kimchi is more than sharing food. Continuity of taste and relationship. So, because kimchi has distinctive flavor depending on who makes it. Some women say that their secret is using the water that was used for boiling potatoes. So a little bit of starch in the water sort of helps fermentation. That's what they told me, and everybody has one's own secret. So mother's kimchi has a very special meaning. In Korea, home delivery services, 택배, those companies are the busiest in Kimjang seasons, not for Christmas, not for Chuseok or the New Year's Day, because Kimjang is in large quantity, and I have great sympathy for those delivery people because kimchi is not easy to transport and deliver, and accidents happen and your whole truck smells kimchi. But it's done, and I think it will continue to be done for some time. This lady is making this large amount of kimchi during Kimjang season to send, to divide and send to their children living in the cities. But I felt a little sorry when one of my students took this photo and interviewed her, and she said that she was doing that alone. It's a lot of work. But in a more ideal situation, they converted their part of their living quarter into kimchi-making factory, I guess. 3 generations of women in the family working together to make large quantity, and then they divide them into the number of households. That's usually the case. And Korean men are well known for not participating in domestic work. However, this is a time. This is time when men, even men, participate, because Kimjang season is such a short span of time, and so much work should be done. And there are some strenuous part of work, like moving the things and digging the hole in the ground. And this person is helping out making the spice. And I think more and more men are participating in Kimjang. And this is the special dinner. After the hard work of Kimjang, family gather around the table to share this particular dish called bossam. And they also have sweet potato over there. Sweet potato is yet another kind of starchy food. It's supposed to be good eaten with kimchi. Koreans like to do that. And they also have the kimchi ingredients on the table to be eaten all together. And after the dinner, children take, so usually the husbands, wives and children go there and work, and husbands, when they go off their workplaces, they would go to their mother's home if it's close enough, and they would take their portion of kimchi. And by the way, that green plastic container is the typical shape of container to be stacked in the kimchi refrigerators. So, and this man is putting their share of kimchi into the car. However, if you don't have that kind of family kin network, or they live too far away, then neighborhood women take turns doing kimchi. So today is my Kimjang, and next day the same group of women go to another home to make Kimjang. So these are neighbors, and again, I think this is the same apartment unit where they use the living room for kimchi making space. It's a great spectacle to see thousands of people. Last year, 4,000 women gathered near Yangjae Station. There is a open plaza. They participated in mass collective Kimjang to donate the kimchi to the social welfare institutions and to help out neighbors. It's a great spectacle. This is because kimchi is so essential. No one should go without. A household, even without kimchi, means really difficult situation, and neighbors are also criticized for allowing that kind of situation happen. So there are households that cannot do Kimjang on their own if they are too old or do not have the money that they need for Kimjang. Then neighbors help or they do collective mass kimjang and they divide them to give to those households. In the past, many seniors whom I interviewed told me that there was a tradition in villages. If they have poor neighbors, they let the poor neighbors get some kimchi out of their earthen jars, usually buried outside the home next to the fence. The fence next to the road, and they knew that these poor families take their kimchi, but they pretend not knowing because it's considered to be sort of embarrassing to take somebody else's, but they just pretended not knowing, and it was a kind of act of generosity to share. So, and they were allowed to freely get kimchi out of somebody else's jar. And in today's Korea, mass and collective kimjang on an open ground by thousands of people is an annual spectacle, and you will see a photo of it. So picture was taken in November last year by the delivery ladies of Hankuk Yakult, which is a dairy farm which make yogurt, and they, as a sort of their social contribution, these delivery ladies have gather on a open plaza and do kimjang, and all this kimchi is sent to various institutions and donated to many groups of Koreans. And I'm proud to say that these are my students who participated in sort of a volunteer kimjang for senior nursing homes last year. And they worked together, and many of them actually are not experts, but they really needed help. And these students volunteered to go there and do any work that were given to them. And we have, because I teach in the Division of International Studies, we have international students, and they also, of course, participated, and they were really excited to have that experience, and also experience Korean style sharing. I've been talking about kimchi, kimjang, gender identity, family relationship, and what's happening, the new changes that are happening in Korean society. So I think, first of all, I hope the kimjang culture application go through UNESCO's evaluation, and kimjang culture is put on on the UNESCO's representative list. But at the same time, I think about what the future of kimchi and kimjang will be. I think kimchi will survive, of course, for a long time. But will Koreans do mass-scale kimjang before winter in the coming years? Probably some people opt for store-bought kimchi if life is too hard or too busy. But even in a very small quantity, people might take this as a winter, before winter ritual, family ritual, because it's fun to make kimchi together in the family. So you never know what will happen, but one thing for sure is kimchi will go through further changes. And as Koreans' view on Korean culture is changing dramatically over the years, as Koreans feel more proud of what Koreans has been achieving, and Koreans reflect upon our own culture and social practices, I think kimchi will be one of the important and significant items with which we can think about who Koreans are and what Korean culture is. So that will happen, I think. Excuse me. And I think kimchi, Koreans will be much more interested in kimchi and kimchi making, and like to think and talk about that. And probably we'll have more and more positive look at what we have had for hundreds of years. Well, the centrality of kimchi, although we are now eating a lot of Western originated food, still kimchi is considered to be one of the essential items in our meal structure. And in our identity, people still, even the kids, still refer to kimchi as one of the important and significant items in Korean identity. Making and sharing kimchi as something to be shared with your family and with your neighbors. I hope that this part will expand, because I think Koreans have been too busy to in the areas of economy or democratization. So we, although we have a long tradition of sharing with and caring the less affluent neighbors, I hope with this kimchi-making mass event, we take this as sort of a symbol of sharing, and will be able to care furthermore, our neighbors and so forth. Okay, I think I'll stop here. I think I was exactly on time, and I would be really happy if you ask questions on the contents or something related to.
Well, it's time to open up our discussion. Okay. I'd like to express our gratitude to Professor Bak.